Второй этаж! Зашли! Раз, два, три! Зашли!
Своїх вообще не встречали по маршруту? Нікого не бачили?
Основного десантно-штурмового полка. Сержант Медведников Владимир Алексеевич.
On the front lines in the Zaporizhia direction, a Special Forces unit from the GUR launched a tactical operation focused on a single point, a house suspected of being a hideout. Based on intelligence from previous reconnaissance, the building was exhibiting unusual activity. There was no civilian movement, but signs of a military presence were detected. This situation was immediately categorized as a potential hiding spot for Russian troops. The GUR team then executed a deep encirclement maneuver. Instead of a frontal assault, they positioned themselves around the house from various angles. Every exit was sealed. Windows, doors, and even the sides of the building were tightly secured. This was a typical close-quarters battle, CQB approach, controlling a tight space with complete dominance before contact is made. Once the position was locked, pressure was applied. Ukrainian forces began issuing surrender calls, giving anyone inside the opportunity to surrender without resistance. However, the situation inside the house remained uncertain. There was no immediate response, escalating tensions on the ground. Seconds later, inside one room, Ukrainian troops successfully encountered Russian troops without resistance. GUR troops quickly secured the area, ensuring there were no additional threats such as booby traps or other personnel still hiding. Instead of eliminating them, the unit again prioritized capturing live prisoners. These prisoners were key to locating the enemy's next hideout. The information from the captives was quickly put to use in the field. For the GUR unit, this was an opportunity to expand the operation immediately, before the enemy had time to move or disappear. Without delay, the team immediately moved into action. As they approached the second location, the same procedure was repeated. Tensions rose. If the captives' information was accurate, then other Russian troops were still hiding inside, perhaps unprepared for direct contact. And indeed, it was. Signs of human presence began to be detected: subtle movements, shadows behind cover, and restrained responses. This confirmed that the target was inside. Once again, the CQB approach was applied with great discipline, with the GUR troops controlling the situation, first applying pressure, limiting movement, and forcing the enemy into a position with no options. In many cases like this, psychological effects were the primary weapon. This operation demonstrated an increasingly clear pattern that one capture could pave the way to the next target. That information on the battlefield moves quickly, and only those able to react within minutes can maximize its benefits. And most importantly, operations like this demonstrate how a small, highly coordinated unit can systematically dismantle an enemy's network of hiding places, one point at a time. In various frontline sectors, particularly forested areas, Ukrainian forces are now conducting clearance operations with a much more coordinated approach. Instead of relying on large movements, they combine three main elements: aerial reconnaissance, precision shooters, and small, flexible infantry teams. This combination allows them to detect and respond to threats quickly. This situation is exploited by both sides, especially by troops trying to hide and avoid direct contact. However, technological advances in the field have changed this balance. The intensive use of surveillance drones means that every movement, no matter how small, can be detected from the air. Footpaths, changes in vegetation patterns, and even the movement of shadows are important indicators that can no longer be ignored. Once an indication of a target's presence is detected, ground units move immediately. Small infantry teams approach the area cautiously, often with cover from long-range shooters ready to secure the situation in case of resistance. This approach creates constant pressure on suspected positions while limiting the movement of those hiding. As a result, many positions previously considered secure have become vulnerable points. Troops attempting to defend within the jungle often face a dilemma to remain and risk detection, or to move and expose their own position. In many cases, this situation forces them to retreat or surrender once their position is locked. Overall, this pattern of operations demonstrates a significant shift in the dynamics of jungle combat. It's no longer simply a contest of strength, but a battle between detection, speed of response, and the ability to read the environment. And in this context, the one who sees first often controls the situation. Once the enemy's position was identified, small Ukrainian units began to develop a systematic sweeping pattern. They did not move randomly, but instead divided the forest sector into sections that were monitored and cleared gradually. Every step was calculated. Communications between teams were kept concise and efficient, while drones remained overhead to provide real-time updates. If suspicious movement was detected, the direction of the sweep was immediately adjusted. In some cases, contact occurred suddenly. The extremely close proximity of the forest made confrontations quick and intense. However, with positions already known, Ukrainian forces usually had an initial advantage both in terms of direction of approach and preparedness. This pressure created a ripple effect. Small, previously isolated positions began to be revealed one by one. Several groups of hidden Russian troops lost coordination as their communication lines were disrupted and their space for maneuver became increasingly limited. It was at this point that the operation transformed from a simple sweep to the dismantling of a network of hideouts. Every discovered location was not only secured but also analyzed. Abandoned equipment, movement routes, and even signs of logistics provide clues to the next position. This means that one discovery almost always leads to another. And over time, the forest area that was once a sanctuary slowly turns into a no-go area. For the units carrying out these operations, success is measured not only by the number of contacts made, but by how effectively they control the territory and eliminate enemy hiding spots. Because in this kind of terrain, victory is often determined not by who is stronger, but by who finds it first.